It's so great to have you here, especially as Martha said, if this is your first time with us at Mosaic Church, so pleased you are with us. Why don't you do me a favour, just so I get organised, turn to the person next to you, just give me 30 seconds, turn to the person next to you and ask them, and share one thing that you are grateful for this morning, okay? Turn to the person next to you, say hello if you've never met, one thing that you're grateful for this morning. Okay, if you could start to wrap up those conversations. Obviously, it's led to maybe some of you, it sounded like you had a few things you're grateful for, shared a few things there. Just to say, if nothing was springing to mind too quickly, then don't worry. Next month, you may not have known this, but next month is National Gratitude Month, so you've got a whole month to get better at expressing and think about some things that you are grateful for. And I know that everything feels like it has either a day or a month these days. You know, there are all sorts of random examples. But I actually think this morning that there's some really good reasons to have a month of gratitude, of all the months that you could think that we could have. There's a lady called Stacey Gruel. I think there's actually a picture of her that might just pop up behind me. This is Stacey Gruel. Shame about the second name, bless her. You'll see her just in a moment. She first coined the idea of a month of gratitude. Okay, so she thought it was so important that there should be a whole month dedicated to gratitude. She also found out that gratitude is good for relationships. Apparently showing appreciation, listen to this, not only improves existing relationships, which sounds like it might be obvious, but it can also help you win new friends. So anyone out there looking for some new friends, there she is, Stacey, smiling away. Help you win new friends. There's also, for the students in the room, there was a study done which showed a large group of students, a large sample size, who practiced gratitude were more likely to get A's in school or at uni, which is helpful for the students and late information for all of the rest of us if we didn't do so well, but that's okay. Take note, students. Also, this study, another aspect of it, found that women tend to be more grateful than men, which I know, some grunts and groans, there are some men not grateful for that stat. So those are just a few little observations, but I wanted to give you some hard data, all right? Here's some hard data for you. This is from the National Health First Aid website, and it shows a powerful link between gratitude and our mental health, all right? So research has shown that consciously, that's the important word here, consciously practicing gratitude can reduce feelings of stress and anxiety, and studies show a single act of thoughtful gratitude produces an immediate 10% increase in happiness. That's quite profound, isn't it? And can produce a 35% reduction in depressive symptoms. Isn't that quite amazing? I thought it was anyway. There's not really... Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. At a time when depression and anxiety are on the rise, the simple act of thankfulness, thoughtful gratitude, can fuel your happiness and be a powerful antidote to depression. Now, listen, I know that this isn't a simple subject, and when you talk about mental health, there's all sorts of other factors which would need to be brought into play. But in terms of one thing that I think we can all do, something that isn't out of reach, something that won't, cost us anything, the research has shown that thankfulness can disproportionately have a positive impact on how we feel about life. But But what's interesting, although I think all of that is probably true, although the research agrees that thankfulness is a good thing, mainly because it works, because it seems to actually work in real life, I couldn't find much out there to tell us why it works, like what underpins not just the nuts and bolts of this is good for you, but why does it work? And depending on your personality type, I know there'll be a few in the room, you don't just want to be told what to do, all right? Hands up if you're a but why person. But I want to know why. Yeah, there's a few. There's always a few. And hands up also if because it's good for you just isn't quite enough for you. Yeah, there you go. Less than I thought, but it's good to now know who those people are. Listen, in the next few minutes, I'd like to humbly, give you something to consider. I'd like to share from a Christian perspective, as a believer, as a follower of Jesus, why I believe gratitude works. Not just the fact that it does, but why I believe it works. And also, why I believe the Christian faith also has the resources to make you the most grateful version of yourself that you could ever become. This is a big statement, I know, and we'll get to that just in a few moments. First, though, we need to understand our problem, because we do have a problem. Gratitude doesn't seem to come naturally. If you'd agree with that. We're going to do a little experiment here. So, number one, I'm going to ask you to hold up some fingers for me. So, number one, okay, if the light at the end of the tunnel for you is probably an oncoming train, then you're a number one, okay? 10 for you, if your house would burn down and you'd just be grateful for the warmth, then you're a 10, all right? That's where we're at, okay? So number one, you're a bit of a grumbler. 10, like everything could go wrong and it would kind of all be fine. Where do you feel like you are on that spectrum? Be honest. Some of you are sat next to people who know you really well. So, okay, yeah, I've got a 9, got a 7. Come on, let's all join in. This is a safe place. Now all I can see is like jazz hands. It's 6, very good. Mark Atkins is a 10. There's no surprise there. But his dad's a 4. Interesting. Brilliant. All right, so there's a little bit of a range in the room, it's fair to say. There's a bit of a range in the room. I want to give you a quick breakdown now. A little bit of this is in jest, so don't take it too personally, but I want to give you a little breakdown about why that could be the case, why you might fall into the category you do. Okay, if you were born between 1928 and 1945, okay, then you are known as the silent generation, okay? You are most likely very grateful by disposition. You lived in close proximity to what's known as the greatest generation. They're known as the greatest generation because they fought and sacrificed for the freedoms which we now all enjoy. Peace for you isn't theory. You saw what it cost if you're in the room. And you're also sometimes known also as the grateful generation, okay? So that's you. Then there's the boomer generation. We might have a few boomers in the room. You were born between 1946 and 64, okay? You should be grateful because actually everything came quite easy. You know, you bought the house for the price. You bought your house for the price of a Mars bar. You're going to sell it for $1 million. Like, that's kind of what we're talking here. Who wouldn't be happy about that? Okay, don't worry. Everyone's going to get it, so it's fine. I can just defend everyone equally. Then you've got Generation X, okay? So Gen X, so you're 1965 to 1980. I think there's a lot of these in the room. You're known as like the latchkey kids because you grew up with a lot of freedom. You're often known as, well, maybe not some of you in the room, but lots of your generation were like the pioneers from analog to the switch to digital, which we now all enjoy. You're hard workers. You're sandwiched between those who had it a bit easier and the snowflakes who came afterwards, who we'll come on to in a minute. And you can be caught saying things like, in my day, or, well, that's interesting, but back when, this is how it was, okay? Maybe you feel just a little bit like everyone's had it a little bit easier than you. These are all stereotypes. Then there's the millennials and the Gen Z. Yeah, woo woo. So why don't you just identify yourselves? Pop your hand up if you were born between 81 and if you were born between 81 and 2012. Quite a few hands, 81, 2012. Well, well done for admitting that you're also known as the most entitled of generations. Don't worry, my hand was up as well. If you don't like that accusation, if you're offended by that, we're also known as the most easily offended of generations. So the evidence continues to mount. We grew up with things like participation medals, end of sports day, everyone was a winner, whether you won or not. We didn't learn to lose well. We were the first generation to grow up with the internet and mobile phones that was like readily available, I guess. Apparently we got used to instant gratification and lost the value of perseverance to a degree. Individualism is like massively kind of hockey stick on the rise during our very formative years. So, things like iPods, iPads, iPlayer, everything kind of subtly telling us that life's kind of all about you. But you might say, some of that might be true, but what's the problem? Like, what is entitlement, and why is it a problem? Why am I kind of speaking about it, mentioning it? Entitlement, I think, impacts every generation differently, but ultimately, it's the belief that you're owed something just because you are. The belief that you are inherently deserving of privileges. That's what we're talking about. And although I just kind of beat up on mainly, maybe a little bit, but mainly my own and younger generations, I actually think the reality is entitlement affects all of us differently, and it is also the greatest enemy to living a life that's marked by gratitude. I think entitlement is the greatest enemy to living a life of gratitude. It isn't formed mainly through external forces or circumstances. It is a heart issue. It comes from the inside out. It's not a new problem. I actually think it's a very, very old problem. And in one of the the first book in the Bible, called Genesis, it tells us of the first act of entitlement, which lets sin and brokenness enter our world. The story goes like this. If you know it, you may not. Out of love and kindness, the God of the universe made all that there is good and beautiful for mankind to enjoy. But he put one limit. There was one limit, one request. Don't eat of this one tree. You find it in Genesis, verse 17 says this: but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will certainly die. The way I think of it, a little bit like this. It would be like taking a bunch of kids to a theme park that you've organized and that you've built, right? Just imagine for a second, this is the most incredible theme park, and you would say to them, you've got there's all the water slides there, there's the big rides, there's the spinning cups, there's all the things that you could possibly enjoy, there's the candy floss machine, there's the ice cream, all the drinks are over there, the buffet's around the back. Go and knock yourself out. You've got all day. It's just all for you to enjoy. But do me one favor. See that boiler room there? See that room with the doors on it? Like that very small little box? Just don't go in there. Just trust me. I don't have time to unpack kind of why just don't go in there. Just trust me, don't go in there. And instead of all the kids going, let's go, they go, but we want to go everywhere. We want this one too. Why can't I have this one too? I want to be in that room. And that ultimately is what happened. That is the story of the first humans. That is what they did. It says that when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and she ate it. I think entitlement has been living in the human heart ever since. And the problem with entitlement is it will either leave you disappointed when we don't get what we think we deserve, or it will leave us ungrateful when we do get it, because, well, if you deserved it, then why be thankful for what was rightfully yours in the first place? It either leaves you disappointed or it leaves you ungrateful. I wonder if you resonate in any way. Do you recognize the crippling disease of entitlement in your own life? Do you ever catch yourself, I guess, looking with envy on opportunities that others get, comparing yourself with those who have more rather than those who have less? Is it the next gadget, the next holiday, the next car, or that next life, or the lifestyle somebody else have, or that partner? Then you'd be happy, then you'd be satisfied. I think it touches all of us. So I'd like us to ask the question this morning: how can we become more thankful, grateful, less entitled people, and in turn end up being happier and more content? I think is a really important question to grapple with. I think one of the things you could do is start by making a list of all the things and people in your life that you are grateful for. Like, I'd actually think that's a pretty good thing to do. Food, family, friends, sports, Xbox, books, crochet, walks, whatever it might be. But if you've ever done that, and I would encourage you to do that, it's quite a powerful exercise actually, at some point you will realize that there are things on your list, there are positive things that we enjoy in life where there's no one person to thank, things that actually no person can take the credit for. I asked a few people what were some of the top things that they were grateful for, and this is what they said. The ability to hear and feel. Getting to wake up each morning and experience a new day. Good health. Taste buds. The cool breeze on a warm day. Laughing so hard that your stomach starts to hurt. The smell of a baby's head. Slightly strange territory, but I don't know, maybe they're on something. Who gets the credit for those things? Like, who do you thank? C.S. Lewis, who is a famous Christian writer, maybe most well known for the Chronicles of Narnia, he once said this: being a Christian, he kind of boiled it down to being a Christian is seeing a beautiful sunrise and having somebody to thank. Being a Christian is seeing a beautiful sunrise and having somebody to thank. Namely for him, God. You might think, well, I don't actually think I need to believe in God to be grateful, Rich. You might think, do I really need to? Can't I just be like generally, vaguely grateful? Can't I just express my gratitude out into the universe without needing to know that somebody's heard it, that a God hears my thanks? And obviously you can. Like, I wouldn't run around trying to stop you from doing that. But just consider this for a moment. What if those deep emotions, those feelings of thankfulness and gratitude that arise up out of us, what about if they're not there just to give us a quick, dopamine hit or to make life feel more livable? What if they're actually a signpost in us that we're actually made for something greater? What if that was true? How do we become less entitled, more grateful people? Well, my big thought is this, that you meet the giver of the gifts that you enjoy. You need to meet with the giver of the gifts that you enjoy. I think the reason gratitude makes sense, the reason we have a desire in all of us when things go well, when we experience good things, is because we're not to express thanks, It's because we're not just made for gratitude, but we're made to express that gratitude in relationship to the giver of the gifts that we enjoy. We're actually made for relationship. I do think that there is somebody to thank ultimately, that there's somebody who cares deeply about you. I think that every good gift that we enjoy in life and we can experience says something about the person who gives them. And as Christians, we believe that there is an origin, there is a beginning to all the good things that we enjoy in life. There's a verse in the New Testament of the Bible, it's written by a guy called James. It says this. He speaks about where all good things that we enjoy comes from. 1:17 says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, coming down from the Father, notice Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. So not only is every good gift to be enjoyed, but it's also from a Father who wants to know you. It's from a Father who wants to actually know you and for you to know him. Those feelings of gratitude when we see a sunrise or when a baby's born or when you experience just a moment in nature of awe and wonder, they're there to remind us, I believe, that we are not on our own, but there is a source to all the things that we enjoy in life. What does it mean to live a life of gratitude to God? Like, what does that mean? I think that is a huge question that would take a long time to unpack. But let me just think about this for a moment. I think it would begin, your first step on the journey would begin by asking the question, have you accepted the most important of God's gifts? There is so much that in life to enjoy, but have you accepted the most important of his gifts? There is one gift that God gives which I believe stands head and shoulders above all other gifts. A above all of them. And in Romans 6:23 says this, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life." In who? In Christ Jesus our Lord. Receiving Jesus and what he has done for us, I think, is the best gift anyone could ever receive. But though I believe it is the best gift, I don't necessarily think it is the easiest gift to receive in life. Some gifts are harder to receive than others. Some gifts force us to face our own shortcomings. I just want you to imagine, just go on this mini thought experiment. Some of you, this could have been true for, hope not. But go on this thought experiment with me just for a moment. Imagine one Christmas or birthday, you open a gift, and it was a dieting book. Okay, interesting. Then you get given another gift, you take the ribbon off, and you're like, a short guide to overcoming selfishness. Thank you very much. Like, why would those gifts be harder to say thank you for? Because in saying thank you, you'd be saying, yes, indeed, I am overweight and selfish. You would be admitting that you needed the gift in the thank you. Or maybe, just think about it like this. Maybe you were struggling financially. Maybe that's true. And you've run up a debt of thousands and thousands of pounds. And imagine, without asking, that a friend reached out to you who had somehow found out and just offers to cover it for you. Says, I've got this. I'm going to cover this for you. If you've ever been in that situation, I think there'd be two possible responses to that. You could either downplay the problem, and you could say, hey, don't worry, it's not a big deal. I've got this. It's not a big deal. Or, don't worry about it. I can sort this out. You might even be offended that they thought that you were the type of person that needed their help. Like, what? Excuse me, is this your business? That would be one type of response. Why would it be hard to admit it? Well, in the admitting that you needed help, you have to admit that you've got yourself into a mess that you can't get out of on your own. And it would mean swallowing your pride, wouldn't it? It would mean saying, yes, I do need your help. But there'd be a second response. And the second response to an offer like that would be to just graciously accept the help, to say, thank you so much. Like, I couldn't do this on my own. In fact, this has been weighing on me. And you would receive the help with great amount of gratitude because you knew the cost that other person has paid on your behalf. The gift of a restored relationship with the maker of the universe, with God, it won't cost you any money. You can't earn it through good works. You can't earn it through living a moral life. But it will cost you your pride, your self-reliance. In Jesus' words, he puts it like this: it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. And it's the sickness that actually qualifies you for the help from the doctor, not your health. To receive the gift of Jesus is to give up trying to prove yourself, trying to do life on your own. It's to acknowledge that you probably haven't lived up to your own standards, let alone God. That's the reality. You've got yourself into a mess you can't get out of, an inability to sort it out. It's to acknowledge your sense of lostness. It's to admit that you can't save yourself and that nothing less than the Son of the God of the universe dying on a rugged Roman cross could save you. And for some of you, that's a step too far. For some of you, that idea offends you. It's an affront to your pride. And I think if that's you, then all I'd say is you're just not yet ready. You're not yet ready to receive that gift. But I think for others, maybe if you've been at this long enough, maybe you've tried everything and you're just tired. You're just tired of trying to do this thing on your own. You're tired of trying to dig yourself out your own problems. You know you need help. And the good news is that help is here. That is the message of the Christian faith. From the God who gives us all that there is to enjoy, he says, help is here. Help is here in the person of Jesus. I'm going to invite the bands to come and join me. In a moment, the band are going to sing over us a song. I'm going to read you a few of the words that they're going to sing. And I encourage us just to listen to these words and to join in when you feel ready. just reflect on what they could mean for you today. It goes like this. Are you hurting and broken within? Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin? Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was brought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Let's have a moment, a reflection, and why don't you, when you do feel ready, stand and join in.